Hi, I'm Shira, this is Deborah. Deb, say hi to them. Okay, quiet now. Yeah, well, too much to cover, too little time. So, Homo sapiens, we are tangled up, we are in utter shambles, we are severed to smithereens, and somewhere in this mess of division, of confusion, there are threads of integrity, threads waiting to be united to make us whole. Yes, well, that's our guide on our adventure here, Deborah, of which there must be many installments of how did we get here. To embark, we venture back in time. This will be a part one, this video. Did you know that Republicans and Democrats flip-flopped? Yes, indeed, and only have time for the first bit today. Sources are linked below. Please do add to this SparkNotes version of a timeline, as again, it is too much to cover all at once. I think this is just so fascinating. Okay. The first political party in the United States was the Federalist Party, which was a conservative nationalist American political party. The party was defeated by the Democratic Republican Party. Yes, that's what it was called at the time, this new party. Democratic Republican Party, that is, championed liberalism, republicanism, individual liberty, equal rights, separation of church and state, freedom of religion, decentralization, free markets, free trade, agrarianism, which is a social and political philosophy that advocates for the return of family farming, agriculture, widespread property ownership, and political decentralization. Agrarianism tends to value traditional forms of local community over urban modernity. Agrarian political parties sometimes aim to support the rights and sustainability of small farmers and poor peasants against the wealthy society. In opposition to the Federalist Party and the monarchy, new parties were formed, starting with the Democratic Party, which was founded in 1828, while the Republican Party was founded in 1854. The name Republican was first adopted to emphasize their anti-monarchy views. In its early years, the Republican Party was considered to be quite liberal, while the Democrats were known to be strict conservatives. How did such an extreme flip-flop occur? It shifted over time. It was a slow set of changes in policies that caused the Great Switch. The Republican Party emerged in opposition to the extension of slavery into the Kansas and Nebraska territories, which was proposed by the Kansas-Nebraska Act. The party was formed by anti-slavery leaders. The Republican Party held its first national convention in 1856, and in 1860, Abraham Lincoln was nominated as the Republican candidate and elected president, leading to the secession of the southern states and the onset of the Civil War. Are you writing this down? The outbreak of the Civil War, Republicans sought to expand the United States, encourage settlement of the West, and help to fund the Transcontinental Railroad and state universities. At the same time, there were growing tensions over slavery. Many Republicans were against slavery. How can you not be? I don't know. Democrats represented a range of views, but shared a commitment to Thomas Jefferson's concept of a farming society. They viewed the central government as the enemy of individual liberty, and most Democrats fought to keep slavery legal. This is a lot of info to digest, and it only gets more dense as we go. As the war came to a close, the Republican Party controlled the government and used its power to protect formerly enslaved people and guarantee them civil rights. The amendments and other legislation from this period is credited to the work of radical Republicans in Congress. They called themselves radical because of their goal of ending slavery and guaranteeing civil rights for African Americans. Moderate Republicans, including President Abraham Lincoln, before his assassination, and members of the Democratic Party did not fully support the same goals. A change had begun in the Republican Party following the Civil War. Northern industrialists had grown rich from war, and many entered into politics afterward. These new wealthy politicians stopped supporting the rights of Black Americans when the nation was still largely white. By the 1870s, many in the Republican Party felt that they had, quote, done enough for Black citizens, end quote, and stopped all efforts to reform the southern states. The South was left to the white Democrats and their oppressive policies towards Black citizens. With the end of Reconstruction, the Solid South, as it was coined, voted for Democratic presidential candidates for the next 44 years. And that's just the beginning in its bare bones. So we're gonna pause to pick back up here next time. Now, before we go, we're going to fast forward to a point in history that may be repeated.
So it was November 4th, 1979, when the Islamic Republic of Iran.
In late 1979, a group of Iranian college students who supported the Iranian Revolution took over the U.S. Embassy in Tehran and took 52 American hostages. This was a major factor in the undoing of Jimmy Carter's presidency and his loss in the 1980 presidential election. The hostages were released on January 20th, 1981, just minutes after Ronald Reagan was sworn into office. It was later discovered that the hostages could have been released earlier, but the Reagan administration secretly negotiated with Iran to keep the Americans held longer to time their release with his taking office. Yeah. It is appalling. It is likely Trump will do the exact same thing with the hostages held by Hamas, so he can look like a hero when, of course, he is anything but. Dear people of these divided states and dear peoples of the rest of the world, everyone needs to know the release of hostages, ceasefire, or a full end to the horrific violence is no thanks to Trump. I repeat, is no thanks to Trump. He'll of course spew insane lies like he always does, saying it's all thanks to him when it's just about timing. Him and Netanyahu are in cahoots. What a funny word for something so serious. If the hostages can be released with Biden in office, Netanyahu would do everything to stop that from happening so he can make Trump, a fellow dictator, look like a hero. Just so you're aware, we need to be aware of what the corrupt want us to be blind to. We can learn from history to forge a future free of corruption, unlike our past. And with that, we hope you'll join us in the next video of uncovering how the we got here. To help us steer this ship better, a quick and simple comment, like, and subscribing is a small but major piece of feedback for which we thank you kindly. Okie dokie dokers, much love to ya. See you next time. Say bye, Deb. Bye! Ah, yes.